Okay,
right.
we're good. We are live.
Yeah.
It has been a journey getting to this podcast because we were originally going to do Joni Mitchell, and then we found out some things that made us not sure that we felt comfortable doing that. So we have decided instead for Black History Month, we are going to do that bonus episode on Cowboy Carter that we were going to do last year and never did. We're going to talk about Cowboy Carter and Beyonce and the Black country artists that it has either caused a resurgence for or lifted up, and how there is a change in the music industry because of this one album. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited to finally talk about this album because when we talked about Beyonce, it was right before this came out. So
yes, I think it was like 2 weeks. We did our podcast on her like 2 weeks before Cowboy Carter came out. I know that we were like talking about how excited we were for it. So I'm now excited to talk about it a year later, a retrospective on the wonderful Cowboy Carter.
Welcome to the Siren Songbook, a podcast where we discuss female artists, their music, their history, and the impact they've made on the music industry. Join us each month as we pick a new inspirational artist and celebrate exactly what it is that makes them so magical. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 12 of the Siren Songbook. I'm Amy.
I'm Kasey.
And as we said at the beginning, we're going to be talking Cowboy Carter today. And I say we just jump right into it.
Sounds good to me.
I've listened to this album multiple times since it came out. It's become very quickly a comfort album for me.
Mm-hmm. I remember when it came out last year, which it was released on March 29th, 2024. When that came out, my partner and I put it on like the surround sound speakers in our living room to listen to it for the first time. We were like cleaning the house as we were listening. And anytime something really exciting happened, which was like every song, we would like run into the room and talk to each other, immediately just pointing at each other like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? So it's so fun to like come back and actually get a chance to talk about this album and how much it has, how many barriers it's broken down, how exciting it's been, how many artists it's lifted up. There is no slander for Cowboy Carter here. And if you don't like that album, get out. This is not a safe space.
I love this album. And like I remember telling someone like, I can understand if you're not like a Beyonce fan. I can understand if you're not into that style of music, but you cannot say that this album was not a work of art.
Very true.
So
very true.
That's just my 2 cents. You cannot like the style of music. You cannot deny its genius. Mm-hmm. I said the same thing about the Kendrick halftime show. I'm like, you cannot like rap all you want, but you can't deny that dude is some kind of genius.
1000%. I mean, I was talking to my partner about this the other day, and this is a little bit of a side rant that goes off of what you said. I definitely, I think that people need to have an open mind about music and about genre bending and about all this kind of stuff in the first place, is what it is.
Yes.
But it definitely makes me look at you differently if you were mad that Beyonce won Album of the Year and specifically Country Album of the Year, and you didn't like the Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl performance because you quote unquote don't like rap and you couldn't understand anything he said. Okay, well, I think you said a lot about yourself in just those few sentences. I don't need to proceed with conversation with you any further.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be kind of going back and forth. I wanted to reference this Elle article from Brea Baker that was published on April 5th, 2024, talking about the rich Black history that runs through Beyonce's Cowboy Carter. It's definitely worth looking into. It's about like the historical and cultural impacts. So I'm going to, spend some time talking about, like referencing what Brea had to say in this. And then we're also going to talk about some other stuff. But I wanted to do a deep dive. Well, not a deep dive, but an introspective on Cowboy Carter. It's the 8th studio album by American singer and songwriter Beyonce, obviously released March 29th, 2024. And it's a concept album. Cowboy Carter is the second of a planned trilogy of albums following Renaissance, which I know we talked about in the last episode. We talked about Beyonce. And Beyonce conceived Cowboy Carter as a journey through reinvention of Americana, spotlighting the overlooked contributions of Black pioneers to American musical and cultural history. It's predominantly a country, western, country pop, Americana, blues, folk, hip hop, and R&B album. It blends so many different genres together, so many Southern subgenres together that Beyonce listened to while growing up in Texas, you know, including like Zydeco, rock and roll, folk, rhythm and blues, psychedelic soul, and bluegrass. Conceptually, the album is presented as a radio broadcast with country singers Dolly Parton, Linda Martell, and Willie Nelson acting as disc jockeys. The album's songs feature rising Black country artists such as Shabuzi, Tanner Adell, Brittany Spencer, Tierra Kennedy, Rainier Roberts, and Willie Jones. And the music is driven by a range of acoustic instruments played by musicians such as Stevie Wonder, Paul McCartney, Nile Rodgers, Gary Clark Jr., John Baptiste, and Rhiannon Giddens, who we're going to talk about a few of those artists mentioned a little bit later. But it was met with universal acclaim. It was on a lot of multiple year-end lists. It was on my year-end list. And
it was on mine too.
Yeah. It won Best Duo Group Performance for Two Most Wanted with Miley Cyrus, Best Country Album, which Beyonce is the first Black artist to win ever, and Album of the Year, which is she's the first Black woman since Lauryn Hill to win in 1999. Both That's huge things. It debuted at number 1. Obviously, like biggest the singles from the album, which were Texas Hold'em, 16 Carriages, and Two Most Wanted. I love 16 Carriages. I think that's my favorite song off that album.
So good.
So good. But this kind of came from, specifically, she performed Daddy's Lessons, which is from her 6th studio album, Lemonade, also a fantastic 10 out of 10 album.
Yes.
Together with the Chicks at the 50th Annual Country Music Association Awards on November 2nd, 2016. And the performance was largely praised by critics and gave the Country Music Association Awards their highest viewership in history. However, it was also met with backlash. Who do you think by? With some country music fans criticizing Beyonce's attendance and claiming she did not belong in the genre. Now, this is what I mean. This is what I mean when you throw a fit about Beyonce not being country enough. What? Where is that coming from? Let's
Yeah. Let's take a minute to think about that. And like, I understand, like, there were people who were like, this isn't a country album. Beyonce said this isn't a country album. She said this is a Beyonce album.
Exactly.
And yeah, she was genre bending, but she was also making a statement because of this performance and because of the backlash when she made a country song on an album that wasn't fully country, and they just got upset because, you know, we all know.
Well,
we all know why they got upset.
Right. Racism. The Country Music Association deleted all promotional posts about Beyonce's performance, which was seen by some observers as succumbing to the pressure from conservative and racist viewers. In December of 2016, the Recording Academy's Country Music Committee rejected Daddy's Lessons for consideration for a Grammy Award, with publications reporting that the song was not seen as being country enough, which is something that she literally talks about in the very first song on the album. This experience led to the creation of Cowboy Carter, because what the fuck is country enough? I'm sorry, she was born and raised in Texas. Black people created country music. What isn't country enough? And the thing that, let me not get onto a rant here, but it's the fact that at this exact same time that she is experimenting with her sound and paying homage to country music as it started, as it is with the greats. At the same time, Post Malone's making a country album, and everyone's like, well, it's cool when he's doing it.
Yeah.
I wonder why. I wonder why.
And he's on.
And he's on Cowboy Carter, right? And it's like hearing people say, well, you know, I like the way that Post Malone does it because he does it right. Does he do it right, or does he do it white?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I was trying to look for the actual lyric from American Requiem that she says. It's like, if this ain't country, or I don't want to get it wrong, but I can't find it right now. It was from. Oh no, was it from American Requiem, or is it?
It's when the song gets a little like it starts to get that more of a driving beat and stuff. See if I can like pull it up. Said I wasn't country enough. Said I should have saddled up. But I'm trying to remember the exact lyrics. Yeah. So this is it. They used to say I spoke too country, and the rejection came, said I wasn't country enough, said I wouldn't saddle up. But if that ain't country, tell me what is. Plant my bare feet on solid ground for years. They don't know how hard I had to fight for this. And that stems from the fact that, like, yeah, like she, you know, you watch old videos of Beyonce from when she was young with the Destiny's Child era. She had an accent. She had a country accent. She doesn't sing like this, and I don't know why singing like this means it's country. That's so fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Go on and on and on and on about how much that pisses me off. But this experience, as shitty as it is, led to the creation of Cowboy Carter. Beyonce explained how it was made clear to her that she was not welcome in the country music space, which encouraged her to explore the musical history of the genre rather than letting the critics force her out of it. She delved into the history of country music and Western culture and researched its African American roots. She studied our rich musical archive, in quotes, and learned from educators who had long advocated for the re-education on the Black roots of country music. She also read that historically, half of cowboys were Black, which made her realize how much of the Black, brown, and Native cowboy stories are missing in American history. This was the inspiration for her 2021 Ivy Park Rodeo collection. Following this research, Beyonce conceived Cowboy Carter as a journey through a reinvention of Americana, in which she redefines its boundaries and spotlights overlooked contributions of African Americans to diverse musical genres, Southern and Western culture, and American history. Collaborator Rhiannon Giddens said Beyonce did not intend to create a typical crossover country album, but instead wanted to explore her family's roots through music. And it was 5 years in the making. She began to write this album in 2019. And a lot of people had speculated about this too, that like this was supposed to be the first of the trilogy and not Renaissance. But, you know, it was recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic, which she described as her most creative period. But the album forms Act 2 of a trilogy that Beyonce recorded during this period. The first act, Renaissance, is primarily a house and disco record, highlighting and celebrating the Black, greats of dance music, leading some to believe that each album of the trilogy would aim to explore the Black roots of different music genres. A lot of people are hoping, including myself, fingers crossed right now, that Act 3 is rock and roll. But
that'd be amazing.
The whole point of it was to, from a musicologist perspective, to look at American roots. And I took an American roots, well, specifically an American like music history course, a folk music course in college a long time ago. And every recording that we listened to, every genre started with Black people. And that cannot be understated. And so the fact that country artists, because it's like people like Jason Aldean and these other fucking, I don't have a nice word to say. So these other people, I'm just going to call them that. And all of the fucking, keyboard critics of the world saying that Beyonce isn't country enough. This album isn't country enough. What even is then? Because there are, I went out of my way to step across the aisle and listen to popular country music. And I love country music. We did a whole podcast episode on Kasey Musgraves. I can't shut the fuck up about that woman. I love her so much. But I stepped over to the other side and I was listening to some of the popular country songs of today. You don't really see that many women being propped up. I know that was like a big problem for a long time, that like no woman had held like a top 10 in the country Billboard charts for like, I don't even know how long. And all of those songs are like trap beats. They're literally hip hop songs, except the person singing over them has a country accent, quote unquote, an accent over it. So how is that
upset because this wasn't a country album because there was like rap and stuff on it? But they've been trying to steal that for how long now?
Dude, I mean, like
back to like Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
Yeah. I mean, like I can't, dude, I don't really listen to a lot of like popular country music to like give like perfect examples, but like you know, there's some stuff that I've heard from Morgan Wallen. There's some stuff that I've heard from Jason Aldean. There's this, I don't know, this group that was of two dudes. What is it? Florida Georgia Line. It's literally a trap beat.
Yeah.
Talking about beers and trucks and cars and whatever. But that's country. And why is that? There's the obvious answer. I mean, we've already spelled it out, but we don't even have to. It's like the way that so many people that are making music and making decisions about music have no understanding of the history of it. It makes me sick.
Yeah. Well, okay, so this is we mentioned that she used Linda Martell and Dolly Parton and stuff to like intro her songs. These greats of country music, these founders of country music, Willie Nelson, introducing her music. They like Dolly and Willie signed off on this. They had to record those parts for the album. This part though, Spaghetti, was technically nominated for melodic rap record of the year or song of the year. And but it starts with Linda Martell, and I think it's a clip from an interview, and it says, "Genres are a funny little concept, aren't they? Yes, they are." And in theory, we have a simple definition that's easy to understand, but in practice, well, some may feel confined. And so it's like they've in their mind created this genre, quote unquote, that was not even created by them. And the defining factor of this genre of music is that you have to be white.
Yeah. You know,
basically.
In this college course that I took about American folk music, which, you know, I can even at some point post a link somewhere about I kept, that's one of the very few textbooks I kept because it was important. But I had to listen to so many field recordings from like literally these, from like the late, I would say actually early like 1900s, 1910s, 1920s that are a part of the, different archives and stuff. And I had to listen to these really rough scratched recordings, and they're from like these small areas in the South on, plantations or different places like that in like low income areas full of rich Black culture and Black music. And, I think about, the Carter family listening to some of these recordings and taking them and posting them as their own. I mean, like, I know it's like a viral clip from that Elvis movie that came out. I didn't even watch it, but I saw that clip where, they hear Elvis's music over the radio and his soon-to-be manager is like, he's white, and they're all excited and he was singing a Black song,
Yeah.
At the beginning of her career, Linda Martell was a South Carolina-born artist, sang pop and R&B, but ultimately signed with white-owned Plantation Records, which, what a name, wow, and formally switched to country. It was considered a risk at the time, but the pivot didn't come hard for Martell. The music was Black and true to her Southern roots. Against the advice of others who suggested Martell remain in the box Black artists were expected to be or to create with, she continued to bring together the guttural wails of gospel music with the storytelling of country and the honesty of blues, which is why it's so important that she had that that monologue at the beginning of Spaghetti, because she was genre bending at the beginning. And what did it lead to? Well, after securing a few top 40 country hits, Martell felt her record label wasn't investing in her career as much as their white artist. She tried to leave the label due to the racism she endured and attempted to work with new production teams on the next phase of her career. Plantation Records, true to its name, wouldn't let Martell go. Though she had fulfilled all of her contractual obligations, and Martell was blackballed. Hearing Martell's voice on Cowboy Carter, and this is according to the Elle article, feels like destiny fulfilled and divine retribution. In her introduction of Spaghetti, a song that merges country and rap, Martell says, yes, genres are a funny little concept. And we witness a baton being passed. More than half a century after her first album, Color Me Country, was released, defying the silos of her generation, Martell ushers in a track by the greatest performer of our time who does the same. And I spent some time listening to, we both spent some time listening to Linda Martell's music. What was your opinion?
To her on stream today.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. It's so like pure country.
Yeah. It's like it sounds like
some of the purest country I've heard in a long time.
Like I really love Bad Case of the Blues. I know Color Him Father is like her most popular song aside from Spaghetti. But I listened to that and I could put on Loretta Lynn right after, and it's, they seamlessly blend together. She had some very deep and beautiful words. I'm trying to
look up some of the lyrics.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that I can pull them up without accidentally.
That's what I mean by it was pure country. It's like what you think of when you think of old country. It was like the purest, most simplest form of it that was just beautiful and heart-wrenching, and it was like an extension of the blues almost.
Well, I think what's also really cool is, these songs all have the exact, I don't know what people mean by what is and what isn't country enough. These songs open up with this beautiful sounding steel guitar. I'm trying to pull up the lyrics so that way I can actually sorry, I should have actually had but her most popular song, Color Him Father, was a song written by Richard Lewis Spencer and recorded by American Rhythm and Blues group The Winstons, but also, Linda Martell.
Yeah. That was the song when I was on stream and that song came on and I went, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Color Him Father was
right.
a great one.
Really so good. It's, the opening lyrics are, there's a man in my house, he's so big and strong, goes to work each day and he stays all day long, comes home each night looking tired and beat. He sits down at the dinner table and has a bite to eat, never a frown, always a smile. When he says to me, how's my child? I said that I've been studying hard all day in school, trying very hard to understand the golden rule. I think I'll color him father. I think I'll color him love. I'm going to color him father. I think I'll color him love, which I think is very, very sweet. And
yes.
Today is my dad's birthday. And so, think
happy
listening
birthday to your dad.
Yeah, it was getting a chance to re-explore some of this music that I listened to when Cowboy Carter first came out, and re-listening to it again. It's a very healing experience, and this is now, because of this whole thing, this is Linda Martell's first Grammy nomination. And Beyonce made sure to speak about that when she was accepting her Grammys. And I think that was important. She was the first Black female solo artist to play the Grand Ole Opry, and I think that's so huge. That's so huge. Rolling Stone did a more a deeper dive into specifically her work. The title is Linda Martell, Country's Lost Pioneer. Unfortunately, it's behind a paywall, but if you guys can get the chance to either look up some of her music or read that, it's her voice is absolutely lovely. It reminds me of all the other artists from that time period that I love listening to. Patsy Cline, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, they all fit in that same time period. And it's insane that I can list those people off. But prior to Beyonce, I couldn't list Linda Martell because I didn't know about her. And that's why it's so important. And that's why it's so important what Cowboy Carter has done. That's the whole point.
It's brought a resurgence to to the founders of country, really.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also brought a resurgence to artists who have been hidden for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And in the background, and it's also bringing up newer Black country artists.
Yeah,
I remember. Oh my God, what's his name? Hootie and the Blowfish dude.
Darius Rucker.
Yeah,
I just immediately just heard "Rock Me, Mama, Like a Wagon Wheel." I immediately forgot.
Darius That's
Rucker.
Literally off the top of my head. That is the only black country artist I can think of, and I remember when he came to the fair here.
Oh shit, I didn't even know you did that.
Oh yeah, I saw him live here. But I remember like that was a thing. Like people were like, "Oh yeah, he's like the only black country artist." And it's really sad that that's a thing. Like
right. It's like
that wasn't a red flag to everyone.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know, obviously he wasn't like the only black country artist that was like was making country music. It was just the only one with a platform that he already built with a different band. And so, you know, a lot of people just don't ask questions. And I can say for myself that I didn't know about Linda Martell, and I could have. I could have done more research. I could have looked more, and I didn't. And that's another reason why I love Cowboy Carter, for all of the information that it's given me and all of the artists that it's given me that I've ended up really liking. We wanted to talk about Blackbird. And that was one that it's so...
Oh, it's
the amount of people. Well,
so
first
good.
of all, it is unbelievably good. It's unbelievably haunting and moving. And it made me cry so hard when I heard it for the first time. But the amount of people that were like,
much of this album made me cry.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think I still can't listen to it all the way through without crying. But it was, you know, it was really important to talk about Blackbird because so many people had an opinion about her covering that song and Jolene. But what I really want to point out with Blackbird, it was obviously a cover by the Beatles. Paul McCartney wrote that song a long time ago. But before Cowboy Carter, before Cowboy Carter, I didn't know the origin of that song. I just thought it was a pretty song. And another reason why this album is so important, because it makes you ask questions. It makes you look. The song was originally penned by Paul following the Little Rock Nine integration of an Arkansas high school. McCartney said, you know, you were only waiting for this moment to arise was about, you know, the black people's struggle in the southern states. He was using the symbolism of a blackbird. And in her rendition, Beyonce's velvety voice is joined by 4 young Black rising artists in the country space. If you haven't checked some of them out, you should. Tanner Adele, Brittany Spencer, Tiara Kennedy, and Rainey Roberts. And I only somewhat... Okay, so Tanner Adele's a really interesting one because when it was announced that she was going to be... or that Beyonce was going to be releasing a country album... Tanner Adele started posting her song Buckle Benny on TikTok and being like, hey, if you guys are thinking or wanting to look at other artists like, you know, Beyonce that might be doing country music, here's my stuff. And then through those posts and stuff, Beyonce found her. And this is like weeks before the album came out, had her and these other girls like come and record harmonies for the song, which I think is so cool. And like I watched on TikTok Tanner Adele like listening to Blackbird for the first time in her car. You know, I think it was either before it came out or like when it came out and like crying, and it was such a beautiful thing to watch. I know that you said that you've seen Tanner Adele before.
Yeah, so she opened for Nelly at the fair, and I remember we were kind of like, why is a country artist opening for Nelly? But I guess Nelly's doing country music right now, so
and you know what, period.
But she was great. Like I really enjoyed her. She was very energetic in her music, and her music, we were listening to it earlier on stream too, and it's very genre bending too in a lot of places.
Yeah, it definitely plays.
The best part go ahead.
No, go ahead, you're fine.
Oh, I was gonna say the best part about it all to me is that like they're doing what some of these white country artists have been trying to do for so long and doing really terribly at, and doing it well. Like they're genre bending and doing it flawlessly, in my opinion. But
1000%. I think, you know, I like re-listened to a lot of these artists today because we decided to read, like, kind of switch gears yesterday. So I was revisiting a lot of these artists that like I listened to a lot when Cowboy Carter came out. I think I go through like different periods throughout the year where like sometimes I want to listen to more of this kind of artist and sometimes I want to listen to more of this. And I remember when Buckle Bunny came out, because I wanted to talk about this song specifically from Tanner Adele, like really highlight this one because she was posting about it a lot on TikTok, and I thought the way that she was posting it was really good. And I also think lyrically this is a fun song. The opening is, I'm at the mini mart in a mini skirt, about to steal your man in a torn up t-shirt. This ain't the Hamptons. We all got tramp stamps. Acrylic covered in barbecue at the line dance. So fun. And immediately, like, when I think about like the inner songwriter that like this scratches my brain so much because each syllable fits so perfectly and it immediately tells a story. I know what you look like. I know where you are. I know what the song is about. It's so funny. And like, a lot of people don't like Buckle Bunny is considered, like not a nice thing to call somebody, but she like takes it back. And I think that that's really cool. But like, I encourage anyone
Linda
that's
Martell's.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No. Go ahead. That's my bad. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say even Linda Martell's album was called Color Me Country, which that's something I literally just looked at. But the beautiful thing about this is all these people, even all the way back when she recorded her album, are trying to reclaim their spot in country. And now Beyonce has taken her platform and made it more so that they're able to do that.
1,000%.
That's really cool.
Beyonce's always been about that. This is something that I got in a strongly worded argument with somebody somewhat recently after the Grammys because they were making fun of their argument because they don't want to out loud admit, well, I don't think Beyonce should have won Album of the Year because racism, call a spade a spade. So they were trying to find any sort of argument that made any sort of sense. And they're like, well, Taylor Swift's only got like a couple of songwriters on the whole album. She could write a whole album by herself. And Beyonce's got like 51 songwriters on Cowboy Carter. And I had to remind people that, okay, that didn't mean 51 people each wrote the same song. First of all, it doesn't matter how many people it took to write an album. As someone who's been in a band before, music is a collaborative effort. She didn't just poop all this out in her own head. I don't think anyone can do that. She also understands, and the point to this is talking about these other artists that she has platformed with this record. She has used her influence to give people songwriting credits because she knows how important it is that somebody that might be just starting out in the industry has a Beyonce credit on their resume to say, I've worked with Beyonce before. Even if it's that they were just in the room, how much that could change somebody else's life. She is so about community, about lifting people up. She's not just about, hey, I think we should support each other, and then goes back to her own fucking bullshit. She actively is walking that walk with, these different artists like Tanner, like Brittany, like Tiara, like Raina, sorry. Like, and going backwards and giving flowers to Linda as Linda should have received in the first place,
And I don't know if you saw so she dedicated her award. I think it was when she did her speech for Album of the Year. She dedicated it to Linda Martell. And her family made a video. Did you get to see that?
Oh, I don't think I did.
At all?
No, I don't think I did.
Oh my God. I'm crying just thinking about it. Because it's literally like her great-grandchildren, her children, her grandchildren.
Oh.
And they're just all like, thank you so much for giving her this honor that she never received and for bringing her back into the public eye where she should have been, and just basically thanking her. I don't remember everything they said, but it starts out like I'm her great granddaughter, I'm her great grandson, I'm her grandson, I'm her sister. I think her sister was on there. It's just beautiful to see somebody who, like you said, was basically sabotaged.
Yeah.
Finally get the flowers they deserve.
Yeah.
And I just think, the people can say what they want about Beyonce. I know that there's mixed feelings about her and whatnot, but she's doing something beautiful with this.
1,000%. She wrote 100 songs for this album. That's insane. That's actually nuts. Literally, she had different teams across the United States. Like some people were, working in Nashville, some people were working in LA. She brought a community together to make this work of art. I mean, like, just as an anecdote, like Kacey Musgraves was hit up to like maybe write some stuff for the album, and she ended up like pumping out like 5 songs in a day or something like that. It was ridiculous. Working with one of Beyonce's producers, they didn't end up going with those songs, but like, and she ended up winning Country Song of the Year, which I think is really cool, because I really liked Deeper Well. I think, it was a really great album. But yeah, like there is a conversation, sure, to be had about whether or not being a billionaire is ethical and all that fucking blah, blah, blah. And you know what? And I will have those conversations, but this conversation is not about that. And I'm not going to take away from how important this was for so many other people. I think it's amazing that the credits on Cowboy Carter reach into the 50s. Maybe there might even be more of all of these people that, she has built up and brought up with her. And also, I know that some people were like, I can't believe that she changed the lyrics on Jolene. And you know what? It sounds good. And if Dolly Parton didn't like it, she wouldn't have let her do it. Okay?
She got permission to do it. It's a different perspective. It's a more modern take on it. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. And Dolly Parton herself intros it.
Yes. Literally.
So shut the fuck up.
Drives me nuts. I wanted to also... Hold on, sorry. Highlight some of the other artists that were on Blackbird specifically. So Brittany Spencer, another one of the girls singing harmony, has a song called Sober and Skinny, which I was listening to earlier today and I really liked. And I just want to highlight some of those lyrics because, oh my God, do they hit hard. She says, I empty the fridge, you empty the bottle. We're stacking up a mountain of hard pills we have to swallow. It's strange how we point, I've lost it one another. We both got different vices and they lead us to each other. 'Cause you owe the drink, I overeat, we're underthinking everything. And every night we swear it's going to change, but in a perfect world, you get sober, I get skinny. Ugh.
Ugh.
Dude. Oh, calling me out. But yeah, it's just talking about like things will get better, when you get sober and I'll get skinny. Dude, crazy. I thought it was such a good song. It hurt. It hurt to listen to. My feelings were feeling. Definitely want to check out. I wanted to like highlight at least some
one
songs
song from each of the artists.
Yeah. I listened to Tierra Kennedy's work. I also think she has such a beautiful voice. Oh my gosh. One of her top songs is Found It in You. Definitely think that's worth checking out. She also did a Christmas album. One of the songs on the Christmas EP, sorry. She did a cover of Auld Lang Syne and a cover of this song called Evergreen. And I don't know if these are her lyrics or not, but I thought they were really pretty. So I wanted to point that out as well. And Raina Roberts, also really liked her stuff. Louisiana was a really good song. Kind of talking about like, I believe one of her parents being an alcoholic. I believe it was her mother, but I don't want to, see if I can highlight some of the lyrics from that. What I think is really cool is that you can hear like the crickets and stuff. And one of the songs, when we were going to be talking about Joni Mitchell, I was going to point out, I thought was really cool that she used the crickets as like the driving beat of the song. But this kind of has something like, it just adds to the ambiance. I think it sounds really cool. Literally talking about like father had a heavy hand and mama never put that bottle down. She went driving full time, dive bar diving, likes a tall drink of 6'5", and every preacher says that she's a hellhound. But it's called Louisiana. It's such a good song too. So definitely check these girls out when you get the chance. There's plenty of other artists. I mean, one of my favorite country artists right now is Amethyst Kai. I think that they're absolutely fantastic. Brought on to me by our friend Marshall. Nice. He like reached out to me. He's like, have you heard of Amethyst Kai? And I was like, regrettably no. And immediately I went and I checked out all their music and I was like obsessed. Another great one to check out, Allison Russell. I mean, I know that you're a big fan of Allison Russell. Amazing. Yeah. We saw Allison Russell open up for Lake Street Dive like a couple years ago, and I thought she was fantastic.
And she plays clarinet.
Yes, and she's on Broadway right now.
Is she?
Yes, she is in the Broadway production of Hadestown, which is a amazing album.
Oh,
amazing!
That's gonna be amazing.
Mm-hmm. She sounds great. Literally, I think she's playing Hades' love interest, who I don't remember who that is. I think it's Persephone, but also I might be wrong. But it sounds made for her. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
She just had a couple of really good songs with Hosier and toured with him recently. There's plenty of great artists that I hope that Cowboy Carter has opened the doors of curiosity for people to come and check out. That aside from the top 10 country, there is some really good shit. You just have to get through the waste of I'm drunk at a dive bar and my truck and my dog and my wife doesn't like me because I'm a fucking cheater and I've heard enough. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are like country people that might sit there and listen to me like, you're so ignorant. You don't even know what country music's about anymore. Okay. Prove to me that it's like the top songs aren't talking about that right now. You can't.
Other than Beyonce's.
Other than Beyonce, who's like actually talking about fucking shit.
Yeah. Which, by the way, going back to her album, like, yeah, I've had conversations with people where they were like, I wouldn't call the album country, and I'm like, not every song on the album was a country song, but it started out, I feel like it's a concept album. It's exactly what it is. And it starts out with American Requiem and like saying like, I'm country, I'm just as country as you are. And then she does country music for like the whole first half of it. I feel like it was a country version of Blackbird. People debate whether that's a country song or not. I really don't give a shit, honestly.
They can debate with the fucking wall. And they can argue with the wall. It's so, the semantics of it is so stupid because dude, if we're putting barriers between genres, then no good or interesting or worthwhile art is being made. No great original songs are being told because I don't just listen to one genre. I am made up of so many genres, so many perspectives, and the art that I'm going to create is going to reflect that. Not a single person on planet Earth can sit there and say, I only listen to this one genre and that's the only thing, because plenty of artists across every genre sample music from different genres. They sample sounds, they sample phrases from not just different genres, different cultures. All of it, we're like it's a big melting pot. And to sit there and say that, if we're gonna sit there with the lens of, well, it has to meet certain criteria to be valid and be considered a specific genre, then like some of the best music ever made is just never going to be considered that, because like, I don't know, there's.
Well, like, okay, one of my favorite songs on the album is Ya Ya. Mm-hmm. And that song so beautifully, I feel like, collaborates so many different genres. Because I would call These Boots Are Made for Walkin' quote-unquote country. Yeah. But then there's also Good Vibrations, which people call more like surfer rock. Yeah. But there's also Beyonce doing her Beyonce thing on top of it. I don't even know what genre that would be.
Beyonce is so big, she is above genre. Like, it's just so. Yeah. I mean, like I remember. So there's been a couple of like big instances of other female artists, and I'm specifically pointing out female artists because that's not being pointed at these fucking. These male artists that have just been making fucking hip hop music with a country accent for years. That was like the music of the 2010s was, I'm riding on my dirt truck. Like, okay, all right, whatever. But
well, that's what I said. Like all the way back to fucking Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. Like they started trying to rap over top of country music.
Yeah. It's
and then she came in and went, no, this is how you do it.
Well, it's like, I think about when Taylor Swift was when she made the album Red, and historically every album she made prior to that was considered country music. Even though if you just changed the fact that there was a banjo and a steel guitar, it could be a pop song. I feel like, and that's the conversation nobody wants to have, which is like everybody's hit song. It doesn't matter what genre you're in. If you break away the pieces of it that make it whatever, like some of my favorite Slipknot songs are pop songs, just made with heavier guitar sounds, and I will debate that.
Well,
I will
okay,
debate that.
So like, even going back to like, I Will Always Love You. Yes. I Will Always Love You. That's the one that Dolly Parton sings too. Right?
Yeah. She wrote that song in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful as this, Elvis wanted to sing it and she was like, no, thanks. But like,
but that's like the perfect example of like Dolly Parton sang it and it was considered country. Whitney Houston sang it and it's considered pop, I guess.
Pop. Yeah.
I don't even know.
That's 1000%. I mean, like, literally the instrumentation is the only thing that you could potentially stand on for what makes a country song. But like, Taylor Swift had to make the leap to fucking leave country completely and just make pop music, even though like there's always going to be that in her, that storytelling aspect of what people argue is what country music is. Well, she's storytelling in pop, so what now? Same thing with Kasey Musgraves. She obviously won not only, she's literally, I think, like the only woman that's won a Grammy in all 4 country categories, which is insane, and hell yeah. But she won Album of the Year for Golden Hour, considered a country album. The next album she releases, she uses a lot of like pop influence and stuff, and then literally not only did the Country Music Association say that that's not a country album, but the Grammy Association said, no, that's not a country album.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sure. Fine. Ridiculous. But like, oh man. And this comes around every time the Grammys are announced. It's, what are we defining as this specific genre? And I know a lot of it is like, something has to be submitted for that category. It's not that like there's a committee that's like, over this, but like, we start to get in really dangerous territory. Why do people have to be locked into one specific type of sound? Yeah. Literally, Sabrina Carpenter's album. I mean, like she just released the deluxe version of Short and Sweet and did Please 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 with Dolly Parton.
Yes.
And like really kind of showed off a more country side of her. And that song is it was a pop song a couple months ago, and now it also has a country twang to it. It literally is just like how you dress it up. And to sit there and say that if that's the argument you're making for Cowboy Carter, it's still a stupid argument, because Rhiannon Giddens is literally in the beginning of the very first single off the album, Texas Hold'em, is her plucking her fucking banjo.
Yeah.
And it's like, so, I could talk about it forever. It's crazy. I could talk about it for too long.
But the good news is that she released this album despite all the backlash and the anger. She walked away with Country Album of the Year. She walked away with Album of the Year. And all these black artists, black female country artists, are getting their flowers.
Right.
And so I think our main point here is to tell you to go look these women up.
Yes. If you haven't listened to them, please do so. If you haven't listened to Cowboy Carter in a while, why not? Put it back on. Yeah. Listen to it again. You'll like it.
Oh, that album is a hype album for me. Like, the beginning's very country and stuff, but when you get to the middle, oh my God, when Yaya comes on, my energy goes up so high, I can't even. It's like a shot of coffee for me.
I love quoting Sweet Honey Buckin' with my sister. We'll just be like, look at that horse, look at that horse. Just back and forth. And like, the
amount of times I've said bounce on that shit. Dance.
Dude, that's another thing my sister and I can't stop saying. I don't know if anyone, this is such a diversion from what we're talking about, but the Count Orlok and Nosferatu talks like this, and so my sister's been walking around going, bounce on it. Like all weekend we were saying that. Oh my God. get us away from each other. It's ridiculous. But I can't wait to see what the next album in the trilogy is. Again, I hope it's rock and roll. I think it is rock and roll. Who is the real father of rock and roll? Robert Johnson. What was Robert Johnson? A black man. You know, there are and there have been plenty of wonderful and amazing female rock and roll musicians that have, you know, carried the mantle before too. And I can't wait to see what she does. I can't wait to see who she brings in. I know a lot of people are like, well, she definitely has to have Hayley Williams on there. And if she does, that'd be sick. Because, you know, from the last episode, I like her a lot. But I'm excited to see what she does next. I think that it's really exciting to see her. I mean, I feel so sad that she has to, and I understand how tiring it is to constantly have to, you know, the door is slammed in your face and you have to bust it the fuck open.
Yeah.
Which is something that not just black people, but specifically black women and the intersection of, you know, black trans women and, you know, all of this, like, I don't want to ignore all this. And again, both of us are white girls.
Yeah.
I'm only coming at it from the perspective that I have witnessed on my end. And we're only scratching the surface of what this album means.
Yeah.
You know, because we only can come at it from our personal perspectives, you know? So I just can't wait to see what she does next. I mean, again, hoping for rock and roll. I think it might be. I think I put some money on it, actually.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be amazing and transformative, just as everything that she does is. And again, like I said, the billionaire thing is a separate conversation to have.
Yeah.
As a musician, and as a musician alone, she deserved Album of the Year for Lemonade. She's deserved Album of the Year for a couple different albums. Like, literally,
yeah,
we have changed from an industry standard of releasing music on a Tuesday to releasing it on a Friday because Beyonce did it. Surprise dropping albums. Surprise dropping Album of the Year worthy albums. Mm-hmm. And then she finally gets it for Cowboy Carter. You know,
and I think that's
obviously
beautiful. I think it's almost like it's a full circle thing. Like, this album getting it is I can't think of the right word right now, but
it's a bit, I will say it's a bit bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because it feels almost like this is such a weird reference, but like it almost feels like when Leo DiCaprio finally won an Oscar. And it's like, damn, there were so many other, and then everyone was like, well, he should have won an Oscar for this, and maybe he should have won it for that. And I'm like, yeah, this whole time he's just been better than all of you guys. And that's the same thing. Beyonce's just been better, will continue to be better. And it comes from a love of where music came from, an understanding, or not an understanding, but a willingness to do research and to ask questions and to bring in more community and not be afraid of how many fucking credits are on the album. Who gives a fuck, dude?
Yeah.
If the music is art worthy, if it's worth, you know, having whole like classes at a college being taught about. Who cares how many people were involved in it? My whole thing is like, how many people does it take to make a movie?
Yeah.
People aren't sitting there going, well, Avengers was made with like 1,000 people, you know, and this movie was made with only 300. So therefore that movie is just objectively got to be a better movie.
Yeah.
What? That argument is so stupid. It is so stupid. A movie is a movie. People aren't sitting there judging how many names they have to sit through in the credits.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it is the argument people use almost exclusively. And you know what? And I know this is a bold thing to say, but it feels like exclusively kind of pointed towards black artists, because oftentimes they are crediting the samples that they're using or the different producers that they have on different parts of the album. It's like, that's the thing that they use to constantly discredit that music. And it's like, the fuck, dude.
And honestly, like let's just talk about how they're raising other artists up by letting them be a part of it and on the album too. Like
1,000%.
But we could go off on that too, but literally,
and again, and I say this, I'll keep saying it, and it's only from our own perspective. Like I will never be able to imagine what it's like coming from somebody with a different perspective, looking at all of this, or someone whose life has been changed because they have a Beyonce credit to their resume in the music industry. Like, I can't sit there and talk about it from that perspective, from an outsider's perspective, as a lover of music, as a lover of songwriting, as a lover of women.
Yeah.
I can only say what I can say. And I just, Cowboy Carter forever.
I mean, I think that we can say too, like just seeing like Linda Martell's family saying thank you, and the videos that I've seen, not coming from our voice, coming from the voices of the peoples whose lives have been changed by this, because it's the same thing as like, seeing themselves in a movie or something. Now they see themselves in country music.
Dude, some of the artists that were featured on Cowboy Carter talked about how, they grew up being one of the only black people in their area where everyone's listening to country music, but they never saw themselves represented in it. They didn't feel like they were allowed to be in those spaces. They go to rodeos and everyone's looking at them weird. They go to dance halls and they're trying to do dances and everyone's looking at them weird. Like, they're not. So this has done. This album means, I mean, obviously everyone knows. It's like, I'm beating a dead horse here. Cowboy Carter is one of the most important albums that has come out in this decade so far. I mean, aside from Renaissance, I mean, both of those two, just like right there, Renaissance, what they have done, what they've elevated,
And like going into that too, like Renaissance, she said in her concert video that like it was to pay tribute to the LGBTQIA plus community, but particularly the Black LGBTQIA plus community. It was to honor her uncle. It was to honor, like.
Right. And if it wasn't for their sacrifices, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we have now.
Yeah.
So.
And same thing.
I'm
like
lucky
if
to
it
be
wasn't
alive
for,
at the same time as Beyonce.
Yes. If it wasn't for these people like Linda Martell and stuff who made this music and like now is just getting their flowers, but we wouldn't even have this genre.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a thing.
1000%. We are all better living in Beyonce's world. Amen. American Requiem. Anyway. No one wants to hear me sing right now.
I think I think we've pretty much covered it all. We could go on about this for hours, but
yeah,
I think that
people that have spent more time researching and have more academic backgrounds could give you they could keep going, but I think that we've said all we could say.
Yes.
about this.
Yes. And so before we leave and play ads from our fellow podcasts, again, we just want to encourage you guys to go check out some of these artists that we mentioned, especially the newer ones who are now up and coming because of this, and trying to make a place for themselves in country music, because Beyonce has now fucking kicked the door open.
A lot of these artists that have been featured have been working in the industry without help for a long time, and she has used her platform to raise them up, and through that I think you guys should raise them up as well. And I know that there are more people featured on the album like Shabuzi and stuff, and it's not that we are avoiding talking about them, but we wanted to highlight the Whammon.
Yeah.
So please give them a listen.
Yes. Do you want to say their names one more time, just so that?
Yes. So please go listen to Tanner Adele, Brittany Spencer, Tierra Kennedy, and Raina Roberts. There's also Shabuzi and Willie Jones is also on there as well. Please give them a listen. Rhiannon Giddens. Let me say a quick thing about Rhiannon Giddens. My favorite video game of all time is Red Dead Redemption 2, and she is heavily featured on the soundtrack for that album. So if you guys like cowboys, you best be listening to Rhiannon Giddens.
Also, make sure you go check out Linda Martell on Spotify. She just has that one album, but it's good. It's good, pure old country.
Chicken soup for the soul. I'll tell you that.
So go check them out. Give them a listen. And we will see you guys next time. Kasey, it's your turn to decide who we're doing.
And we're going to be picking Doechii.
Yes! Oh, I can't wait.
I've been rocking all of her music nonstop since October, November. I just can't get enough, dude.
Oh my God, her fucking Tiny Desk concert.
Can't. I think so. She, for anybody that wants to do some sort of research beforehand too, Doechii used to do a YouTube series where she was like documenting becoming an artist prior to making it, and it's very much worth watching. She did The Artist's Way. She documented 12 weeks of The Artist's Way. This is a cry for help, but I'm going to do it too because I want to understand it better myself. So Doechii's super cool, very hardworking, very, very good. And oh man, and I just literally I saw an artist like Doechii and was Megan Thee Stallion. I was like, fuck, I want to do her too. I love Megan so much. It was her birthday the other day, so happy birthday, Megan. I love you. I love you.
All right, you guys. So join us next month for Doechii, and we will see you guys around. Stick around to hear from our fellow podcasts.
Yes.
All right, bye.
Bye.
When it comes to making the goings-on of the world entertaining, we got you covered. The Chit Show is a news, pop culture, geek culture, and music podcast hosted by none other than Danny, a.k.a. Danko, and me, Leo, a.k.a. DJ Brute. Tune in as we cover all sorts of topics with a very opinionated and wild twist. The Chit Show Podcast, where chit-chat and shit shows come together for your entertainment. Tune in on your favorite streaming platforms with new episodes dropping every other Monday. Again, that's The Chit Show, a Bassblown Entertainment podcast.
Welcome to Know Your Rights, a music podcast from two guys who know just enough about songwriting to start a podcast about.
Follow Rob
And Colton.
as each week we dive into a different band or songwriter and discuss what makes them great, okay,
Or otherwise.
music is law.
And we know our rights.
Streaming bi-monthly wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Know Your Rights, a Bassblown Entertainment podcast. What happens when you get a bunch of obsessive music lovers sitting around a table and talking about every aspect in music? You get the Untitled Mixtape. Join Danko, Lewis, and Lorenzo in this educational but enjoyable podcast that encourages everyone to branch out and expand what they listen to. From deep dives to letting you know what is a bop or flop, the Untitled Mixtape boys are sure to take care of your music needs every Wednesday on your favorite podcast platform. The Untitled Mixtape, a Bassblown Entertainment podcast.